Hello and welcome to another episode of the Gohndim and Gilmore Show. Today's episode is brought to you by the Boston News Network, the only new age digital newspaper that brings you only the facts.
Hello, everyone. It's Gilmore, and we're here with two guests this week. One who has already appeared on the podcast, one who is a new face here. First, we have Kafka. Kafka, how are you?
Hey, everybody. Doing good. Thanks for bringing me back.
Absolutely. And it was by popular demand, so we had to bring you back here.
Oh.
And secondly, as a new guest, we have our good friend Zippy. How are you?
Hey, good to be here.
So I figured that we'll get into some topics that everyone knows about here. So first, we'll start with Zippy. You were on the great Wick TV podcast. I don't know what he calls it, when he had on Doobie, and you made a grand appearance there to have some discussions with several people, including Doobie. So, what spurred you to want to get involved in that conversation?
Well, in that conversation in particular, I really just wanted to bring back up because we'd already had the discussion many months before on a previous episode of the Wick show about how he just lies about why he was banned from PSCO server. It was pretty explicit. The mods said it was because of him lying about me, jokingly or not, coming on Pixie's car, and also for weird comment about vaginas.
So there's one part about that I actually wanted to address. So this might be a controversial stance, and maybe Gohndim might back me up here, but we'll see. So my understanding is, I don't know if Doobie was actually banned for either of those things, but he certainly wasn't brought back to the community because of those two things, is the way I see it.
I've heard this argument before from Gilmore.
I think that's fair. There was a mod in the Discord community who was absent for a long time, a guy by the name of Palms, and I was kind of filling him in on what's happening in the Discord. I'm like, man, this place is a shithole. Doobie's number one reason, and so I think maybe that was the rationalization after the fact why he was banned. He said crazy shit in there. He was in the Israel-Palestine, or what they call it, the Israel Mideast channel, day in and day out, saying actual anti-Semitic things. He would just unprompted be like, look at this video of this guy speaking Hebrew. What a disgusting language. Or just shit about conspiracies about Jewish people, and just and then of course his thing about, he went on these rants about how he doesn't like dark skinned vaginas and stuff, and he had a bunch of very cringe, disgusting, weird things that I would have banned him for. But I think he was kind of more banned because there was a few of us that were pressuring a few of the mods to say this guy's kind of disgusting and not good for the server or the community. And of course the stuff that you said, Zip, is relevant as well. But I don't think he was banned necessarily for those reasons, but I think his ban is justified for sure, as someone who's also banned, for the record.
I think my understanding is people had been calling for his ban for quite a while, and it was just a last straw type thing that happened that particular time, and simple as that. But man,
it's crazy.
He doesn't have to lie about it. He lies that it's just because somebody paid, and if not for that, and
which is a crazy thing to say,
to get him banned. I just, it's so strange that he still whines about it, even though he supposedly doesn't care at all.
He brings up the big palms donut, which is crazy because he's dropping thousands of dollars in every Pisco stream, trying to be in his ear. It's so funny to me to bring up that argument.
Yeah, it was also strange, just that show that Wick did with Doobie, because it was just because it was I just don't see Doobie as a figure that people want to go on and talk with him about, other than except for the kind of stupid or crazy shit that he says. I was watching part of that show, and it felt like people were just going on there just being like, remember when you said this fucking stupid thing? Or this really weird argument you made? It didn't really have the same feeling as some of the other Wick shows where it was this person versus the world. And then the weird ongoing negotiation of whether or not Destiny was going to be able to come on the show was a really fun subtext of that. Did you see any of that, Zip?
Yeah.
it was okay, Destiny's here and he's ready to get on. Doobie said he will not. Doobie said he won't. Okay, well now Doobie said he will, but Destiny's not allowed to stream, and none of his people are allowed to monetize it. It was just a bunch of really, and then finally Destiny gets on, and it was exactly, it was a good time. And then it was really funny because it was okay, I don't know why, we needed to have all that negotiation, and then Zip came on for round 2 and just just fucking put him in the ground. So I don't know, that was a really fun performance from like watching it from my end.
Didn't it end up being about like some people from Dewey's server that were banned for pedophilia or some shit? Like I don't even know.
Yeah, it was like
strange.
it was the weirdest, like just airing of laundry in a way that was just like I mean I like it is entertaining, but like it's also just a really weird show to put on for like I don't know. I remember Doobie being around for a while. Like I remember him actually showing up on panels and stuff, but like I never remembered any kind of massive following or people being like, "Oh, great." Like the Doobie, or even like he didn't even really seem like that much of a villain. Like he wasn't like, you know, a Lav or like something like that where like he would like show up as like, "Oh, fuck, Doobie's here. He's gonna." So I was just like just kind of this guy is going to be here
He's just a weird frog
comments.
guy.
Yeah, like so it's just kind of weird to still see him hanging around whenever like I don't know like you know which like person he's lampreyed onto to like try and stay relevant, but yeah, it seems like now he just donates endlessly to people to try to like curry favor, I guess.
That's why I didn't see the Zip appearance, actually. I got too tired of, like, there was, like, 3 consecutive callers who were like, actually, this guy that you banned for being a pedophile is not actually a pedophile. I'm so fucking bored of it. I'm like, what is happening here?
Which is fucked up because the e-court exists. We have a banned appeal court. They could have gone through that.
Very true.
You know,
That's actually,
and it's kind of ridiculous that Wick is trying to steal that from us.
that's actually a topic I had on my list that Gilmore didn't, so he's kind of disrespectful and not promoting our guests. But, like, anything cool happening on eCourt recently? Then we can pivot off to the Pisco stuff.
I haven't had it in a while.
Not in a while. Like that's mostly my fault. I've just been having a lot of crazy shit in my personal life, and also like I'm starting a new job where I might not have time to do e-court. So it might. I'm really hoping it's not just like a fun thing we got to do a few times because like I don't know. Like I had a lot of fun doing it. I think Zip had a good time, and so did all of the guests. So like and the community response has been really positive and not like you know like it's not like we're like got you know millions of views, but we do have like people that like actually really enjoy watching and. You know, I would really love to keep doing it, but it's kind of one of those things where like it does take a good amount of time.
Speaking of community response, one of the funniest things that's happened in the server, we're a pretty small server still, but a guy a few weeks ago, or maybe it was longer, was like, I thought this was Zip server and I'm leaving. He's like, I was brought here under false pretenses.
They also didn't talk for like a month or so.
That
happened because Vlexer, I think, was posting in my chat that people needed to join or he was going to get banned from the server or something. And so people ended up joining. But
well, that's true though.
Because it was in my chat, I guess they thought it was my server. So they were like having like, oh, I was in your server, but I never see you in there. Like, what are you talking about?
It was so funny to me.
That rocks.
To be clear, we did give Vlex an ultimatum that if we didn't get over, I think it was like 105 people in our server by a certain date, he was getting banned for life. So,
well, I mean, that just sounds like that's just good community building right there.
Of course.
Yeah, and Vlex is a hardworking Mexican, so keep ice off his back, you know.
it just real briefly, I think my favorite moment from Doobie in the Israel-Palestine chat was when actually there's two. One is when he links some like Turkish source about some like random woman in Israel, so that was a pretty good one. And the second was the conspiracy he tried to throw out there about this one random woman who was in the Israeli government whose daughter accused her of like sexual abuse when she was a kid.
Right.
And he was like, "Oh, I just linked it because it has to do with Israel." And we're like, "Are you trying to say that like Israelis generally, you know, sexually abuse their children?" He's like, "No, not necessarily. I'm just, you know, I thought it was an interesting story. Like she's in government."
Amazing of a not necessarily. That's a really like what a cool way to just like you can't even say no. Like, well, I don't want to extinguish the possibility, y'all.
His presence was just tiring in that server, and like I think the Piscord or you know Pisco's Discord has really like went down in quality last year. I kind of stopped my engagement there a lot. Obviously, I got banned as well, so that doesn't help the case, but. It's sad when some of these like niche communities get too large and they get filled with all these fucking retarded assholes that are just I don't know. It's just very sad. It happened to the Bastia Discord too. That used to be one of the best political Discords like ever, and it's just a trash place now. Of course, he stopped streaming years ago, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I was relatively active in there over like last year over the summer mostly, and then whenever shit just got heated, a lot of random fucking people started joining and. It's got a little shittier. I haven't been in there as much.
Yeah, it's like literally just feels like all of the people that I enjoyed talking to in the Discord just went to the bunker, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna hang out there and not deal with the people I don't like in the Discord anymore. And so far it's been working out great. And but I like that being said, I feel like a general sentiment is like if the Discord was fun to hang out in again, most of us would go back there. But it just like randomly having like Jew Stalker and his people like show up, and then I've got to like answer questions about why I'm okay with Destiny doxing esports Batman. I'm like, I'm not really here for this, guys. Like, I'm not really that interested in discussing any of this.
That's a good question. Why are you okay with it?
Because I believe in praxis, and Destiny's tit for tat strategy is him exhibiting praxis. So there you go.
I know Gilmore probably doesn't want to address this, but we had a private discussion about this, or I guess somewhat private. I was trolling a little bit, but doesn't it seem a little weird when people are like flexing their credentials as a way to get like extra credit on an issue? And then I don't know, wouldn't you be interested in doxing them in the sense of like you want to understand what their credentials actually are? I don't know. Like I think the way that people are going about the doxing now is not appropriate necessarily, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like that's far of a stretch for me if it's done appropriately.
Well, I mean, I agree that you should like show some credentials. Like in order to get able to chat in the Israel Palestine chat, I had to show some mods that I was Jewish, so they asked me to show them, my penis to show me I was circumcised. So I get it for some circumstances, but for this one, it's just too far. Yeah.
I mean, what I like. I think like it actually like there is a good argument there, and I'm actually very like fine with an idea of like if you want to use your credentials, like hey, to get my lawyer flair in BGG, I had to show my fucking bar card. All right, so like, hey, I'm fucking living that. But like that being said, I mean, I think it's more of like I'd be just more interested in just like testing that person's actual like bona fides, right? Of just like, oh, this person claims they're an expert in this. Okay, like I'm gonna just push on that and see how much it like crumbles, and like that's generally enough, where it's just like, okay, you claim you're a lawyer, great. I am also a lawyer. Let's discuss things, and then like if that person is either a fake lawyer or a shitty lawyer, it's pretty clear pretty early on, like, oh, okay, this person's a fucking idiot. Like, who cares if they're a lawyer or not?
It's weird to me though because Gilmore's hot take. I'm not sure if this actually made the podcast, like the first few episodes, but he's like, I think the internet should not be anonymous and everyone should have like their identity like pasted their online handles. And now he's like so concerned about these retarded people like esports Batman.
Well, that's a base take.
It was a two-part test. Yeah, one was that you shouldn't be able to be anonymous on the internet, on social media. And the second is that you can't be fired for your jobs for things you say outside of the workplace. So you need the second one also.
Wait, has that happened to esports Batman? Has he got
fired? I don't know about that second one.
Yeah, exactly. Gilmore wants you to be able to be a Nazi on the internet and not get fired for it. It's so funny.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm fine with people getting fired for stuff outside of work, depending on what it is.
Yeah, of course. Imagine someone's like pedo posting all day long on Twitter. You don't want to be able to fire them for that. Gilmore wants
that's
to work
illegal,
with pedophiles. Wait, someone posting I'm a pedophile is illegal?
Oh, they've been posting like CP on the internet.
So you want to work with people that are not necessarily spreading child porn, but they're like saying I consume it potentially, or I support it.
Would you rather know if they are, or just work with someone without knowing it?
Yeah, of course. I want to know if they are, and then also be able to fire them for it.
And they'll be like babysitting your kids, and you're just like, oh, I don't know, I'm ignorant, so might as well.
If you let people babysit your kids, you're a bad parent. That are not like family.
Hot take.
That's an interesting take, yeah.
Bro, of course. What do you mean?
I love this podcast because there's so many great times where like you'll be going and then it's like time for Gohndim and Gilmore just fucking go at it with knives. It's so much fun because it's like, all right, awesome. Discussion, and then Gohndim is just like, actually, one second, real quick, Gilmore, fuck you, and just like, yeah, all right, let me just take a backseat.
I think I wrote that in the BNN article as a joke, kind of about like, you shouldn't be sending your kids to daycare because your family should just take care of them. I think there's a lot of truth to that in some sense. Like, I remember working with my retarded coworkers who were like, we're spending, 18 grand a year per kid on daycare. It's like, bro, what the fuck? Like in my day, you had like a cousin or like a aunt that was unemployed, or like there was one specified spouse of an aunt or uncle that would like watch all the kids. Like, I don't know, it just feels like the, people have gotten a little lazy and they're,
I mean, would you rather know that they're retarded and wasting their money, or like
we're losing?
I mean, I'm fine with other people wasting their money. Yeah, 100%. It's like, this came up at work a few weeks ago. I'm like, bro, I love seeing people drive big trucks because it's just like, this is like a depreciating asset that you have like a $750 per month loan on. Like, I love seeing retarded people in the wild. It's so much fun to me. So I don't know, just a good chuckle.
I agree.
Well, I mean, back to the being anonymous online. I agree with you, Gilmore. That shit's stupid. People should you don't get to be anonymous in public. You shouldn't be able to be anonymous online. Um, and I like it's something that like whenever people get upset at me about it, I literally just I've never heard of a good argument for why we need anonymity on the internet. I've just never understood where that comes from and why that is such a vital thing, other than people want to be able to go online, be unhinged and say stupid shit without like facing consequences for it. Is there any argument for why we should be allowed to be anonymous?
So Kafka, you're saying if it was up to you that Hamilton, Madison, and John Jay would have to publish the Federalist Papers under their own names? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, those guys are cowards.
There'd be no silence
Oh,
David
shit, wait a
letters.
minute.
Oh my god.
Based.
So the one pushback I get, Kafka, or that I've heard more than once, is that people who are of certain classes who would likely be harmed if people knew who they were saying certain things publicly would be at risk if they weren't be able to be anonymous. For example, if someone lives in Syria and is posting critical of the government, they'll probably be fucking killed in their house.
Okay,
right?
it's like I mean like I'm thinking mainly in an American context. To be fair, I'm an American. So I don't think about anybody outside of our borders. I understand.
So wait. So how do you know if they're American or not?
I mean, well, but like if they're not American, then they're. I mean, who cares? Like what they
Wait,
can.
Kafka,
They
don't
can
you have any
anything.
sympathy for Jamal
Just
Khashoggi?
VPN that you're not even.
Kafka, you're okay with like Saudi Arabia like putting journalists through
No,
like a
I'm
fucking
joking. I know who he is.
blender and flushing them down the pipes? Like it's kind of disgusting, actually.
I'm not okay with it, but I'm not gonna like. I mean, like what does my opinion on that have to do with what happens there? It's kind of
I think
like,
if- I think
what,
if
we
that
should
brave-
invade Saudi Arabia,
Well, no, they're our ally now, so
right? I mean, should we break off? Should they not be our ally because that happened?
no, I think there's worse enemies right now. Like Trump saying on Friday,
Okay,
or
well,
no,
if we
today's
can't
Friday,
even-
was it early this morning that he'd invade Iran or like support the protesters in Iran? Like that's based. Like we should actually probably invade the Iran.
I mean, if we can't even break off like our allied status with them, I'm not even gonna make a comment on that stuff. Like, I don't like it. They shouldn't do it. I think it's unethical and wrong. Governments shouldn't do that kind of thing. All that stuff. There we go. Great. I still think that people shouldn't be anonymous on the internet. I think it's stupid. I mean,
I don't
here's
know.
the deal, like if like what I'll say is the issue is that like looking at the Federalist Papers thing, or something like that, you're looking at like a published product, not just like I can say something and every single person on the planet can see it right now, right? Like you're going through like it's a difference in kind such that like I just don't think it makes sense. Like I don't think like if someone went into a stadium with a microphone and just started screaming the N-word, right? I think it's like most people would be like, okay, we should figure out who that was. And then if people like
Yeah.
take a picture of him, find him, and they'd be like, whoa, why are you invading his privacy? It's like, I don't really know if I would call that invading someone's privacy if someone's like going out doing public things like that, acting that way. And we're not saying we're gonna arrest him or do anything. We just want to know who he is. And then if he said, hey, we're gonna find out who he works for and tell them that he went to a stadium with a microphone and started screaming the N-word, I also don't know if I would really see that as like invading that guy's privacy. I don't know. It's like,
so I don't had me to that last part. Yeah.
What do you mean?
I agree with you totally until that last sentence there.
Well, but like, what, like, is that invading his privacy to you?
Well, I think if you're
invading
whispering the
privacy.
N-word, it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're whispering it, no. You got a megaphone and you're screaming it in a stadium. All right.
Depends
like
on the stadium.
That's assault. Yeah.
In Detroit.
What if it's in a high school stadium?
Yeah.
That was going to be kind of my example too. It's like, imagine you're like a professional, you're at like a conference, you give like this speech or this lecture on this topic, and some like random Joe Schmo stands up and says like, you're actually retarded and this is the reasons. Wouldn't you want to know that person's credentials or like figure out who that is? But I guess you gave like a much stronger example. I would say two things. One, I find it weird that, just to go back to the Gilmore thing, he wants to be able to log on to Roblox and identify all the children in his lobby. Like, that's fucking disgusting. But secondly, I do agree that I think we've become a little too comfortable with anonymity on the internet. I think it really comes down to like a personal, code of conduct or like your own personal, I don't know how to explain it. Like you explained it pretty well. Like there should be areas I think you should be allowed to be anonymous, but if you're talking about these issues about public figures and like you're I don't know, there's just a weird thing. Like I can put myself in Destiny's shoes and be like, this is a community that's fomenting hate against me. This guy claims to be a lawyer and he's commenting on this case and he's, saying all this retarded bullshit. If I was in his shoes, I probably would want to dox esports Batman. I'm not gonna lie. But I don't think that should be a tactic that's used in these spaces where people are otherwise, just being anonymous and having a good time, I guess. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know how to draw the line there, but I feel like you should be able to remain anonymous and take precautions to do so, obviously. But I sympathize with people that want to dox people that are, doing their harm or challenging them in some way that affects their livelihood.
So if you were to create some kind of like legislation for this sort of an issue, would it maybe be something along the lines of like, whenever you sign up for any of these platforms, you have to provide your identity, and then if it were something like let's say it's something like this, it would be like, oh, report it to the platform, and the platform would provide the fucking ID or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah,
so people can be anonymous, but
that happened to Gilmore. He talked about it on an unreleased episode now, but he actually signed up for Pornhub Premium, and that stuff got leaked. So we got to be careful with leaks of IDs like that. So
yeah, no, that happens. But I mean, I think this is we're far enough away from any like actual change that like this is pretty conceptual, and like I think that for me, like I'm open to a discussion of like how you would make this work like from a policy perspective. I think there's a lot of different approaches, but like for me right now, the strangest part is just having to deal with the people with like incredulity of just like, I can't believe you would think that it's okay for us to remove anonymity from the internet, or it's okay that we could ever make the platforms liable for the shit that they host on there. So like, it's like, this is different. Stop trying to compare it to things that it's like nowhere near compared to. Like I'm like, it's fine that you guys compared to Federalist Papers. I'm not trying to like say that was like a bad comparison. It's a good way to explore it. But people are literally like out there just like, oh, okay. So if someone is in a bar and they play, if the band in the bar is playing music, does that bar get liable for the people that are there? And it's like, literally, who fucking cares what you're talking about? Like, what people in a bar were playing music such that it then like incited the January 6th riots? All right, like this is just difference in kind, such that like it's a nonsense question.
I agree. I was joking when I brought that up.
Yeah, you fucking idiot.
So moving on regarding kind of the same area about the liability for the platforms. I don't know if you guys have saw recently kind of more talk about the Section 230 stuff regarding social media websites. I guess it's more about AI recently, but just generally whether social media websites should be liable for certain speech by its users on its platform. So I don't know if we've ever discussed this, even not in the podcast before. So kind of want your general thoughts on it. Then we can kind of get more into it if you want.
Go ahead. And
I actually don't know much about it. If like what all is going on there.
All right, so just some background. So Section 230 protects platforms from being sued or being liable for actions or comments by users. Obviously, still liable for their own actions, but not actions of users. There's some exceptions. One is for IP that's on their website that's being stolen or copyright, things like that. And the second is for illegal things like pictures of, I don't know if pictures of drugs, but like trying to sell drugs on the website, child pornography, things along those lines. So outside of that, platforms are kind of immune from any sort of lawsuits against them for acts by its users.
Right. Okay.
And so they're trying to open up the law to make it so that platforms are liable. So
I've been very vocal about this publicly. I think platforms, if they have a TOS and it can be shown that they're not enforcing the TOS, like consistently, then they should be fully liable for whatever is posted on their platform.
And their TOS be whatever they want.
Yeah, but the TOS has to. It can't say we just have discretion. The TOS has to have strict rules, the ways to do it, and it can't be a discretionary thing, right? It has to be, here's what you can post, here's what you can post, and then if you don't properly enforce that, then it seems like you're actually if you're exerting discretion in your enforcement, that means that you are approving and not approving of the things on your platform, which means that you are therefore going to be held liable for the things on your platform. That's how I feel about it.
So in that circumstance, would the person who gets banned be able to sue the platform, or is it just the people writing certain things? They'd be liable for the things that the other people are writing. How would that work?
I would say that so the way you do is you'd say like the person banned could come in and say, okay, they could just basically you do is say, okay, this was enforced incorrectly, and the result of that would be they would lose their protected status, right? And say like, here's a lawsuit. If they lose this lawsuit, it shows that they're acting discretionary and they lose their ban. And if they don't want to, then they need to reinstate this person, right? So it's just it'd be like an injunctive suit. Then on the other side, though, if someone was like, "Oh, here's some behavior like that's happening on here that this person that is on here is going to be liable for something that they wouldn't have been liable for under 230, but because we can show that the TOS is being enforced discretionarily in these other cases, or even in this specific case, we can now hold the platform liable." So you'd have like two avenues of attack on it.
Okay, so X platform has its own TOS. They don't follow it the right way. Someone could bring, let's say this is an administrative agency in charge of, adjudicating an unfair ban. They say,
yeah,
hey,
you do like
unban
you
this
have like
person.
you need like an NLRB or something where they're like you're
Sure.
gonna say like I'm gonna send this to this agency. They're gonna review it to see if it's even worth us like considering. If it's worth it, okay, then we're gonna pass it on. You can actually bring it to the court.
Okay. And as long as they bring that person back, if the court says, hey, you got to bring this person back, then they're still immune under 230 going forward?
Yeah, that's fine with me. Because then now what's happening is like the court saying you are showing discretion and you are not enforcing this consistently. Therefore, this person either needs to come back or you lose your 230 protection.
No,
Okay.
maybe it's too like dissimilar from how it currently is, but like at the point where there's like legal consequences for platforms, would they not just in their terms of service like write in just like an arbitration clause where they can't be sued by the user for that sort of thing?
Yeah, but Kafka's saying that's not allowed.
Yeah, you just say, hey, you can't do
okay.
this.
Oh, they would just not be allowed to do that. Okay.
Yeah, no, you just maybe not part of the contracts.
Like, you can't stop someone from filing a suit with, like, the EEOC, like the same kind of thing.
Right.
Got it.
Okay.
And so and this is another one that people are like incredulous at, and I'm like, well, at this point, like these platforms have so much power, I'm not really sure. Like it just seems like we need something like that. Otherwise, these platforms can just kind of do whatever they want. And with how much power we've seen X have over the like different election stuff, we've seen on Facebook's influence on things, the kind of inconsistency by which like all of these platforms are enforcing their TOS. It's kind of a thing where it's like, yeah, we need like these platforms have serious political consequences, and having some serious like actual involvement of the judicial system of our government, making sure that these things aren't being used to like improperly impact our political system is important.
I mean, it's very like topical, like as of the last few days. But like, is there currently, and in your system, would there be some sort of thing like the current like Twitter X Grok put a bikini on this person type thing? Is there any recourse for that sort of thing?
I mean,
Or is it
like if like well, that's the thing is like it's a thing where it's like they could make that okay in their TOS because it's just about TOS enforcement, right? So like
right?
if you want to put that stuff in your TOS, you can, and you need to enforce it. And like the idea is like, if you want to have a very broad TOS where it allows a lot of things in, okay, that's fine, you can do that. Or if you want to have a very narrow one where you aren't only allowed to talk about certain things, that's okay too. But the people that come on this platform, that on the other side too, when you look at like people on these platforms who are like literally making money to support their families and stuff like that, who then are drastically impacted by the random discretion of people that work within these companies. It's like, yeah, that's another side of it where it's like, this doesn't really seem fair or right. And so to me, I think it's just stabilizing that, making it where, if these companies say they're going to do something, they need to do it. And we can't just like hope that the people that work at these companies don't have some kind of personal vendetta or political view that's going to negatively impact the people that are on that platform or the society as a whole. But bikini stuff, I mean, like if that's shitty, that's more of a like, you'd go in and say, well, you can't do this because that's my name and likeness or something like that. That's what I would say. Because like, I don't know if y'all saw, but Denmark recently passed a bill that said every one of their citizens has a copyright like ownership of or whatever, or IP ownership of their face, likeness, voice, all this stuff, so that like if they can show that it's being used in the training data of AI, they can sue those AI companies for to stop using it and for damages, which I think we
I
should have
support
in
it.
America. Yeah,
Like,
We
should
need
have
to
something like
stop
that in
AI.
America. I don't know about stop AI. We need to make it where like AI actually has to pay for the things that it's using and not just grift endlessly, hoping that it will eventually become profitable.
Well, they're gonna have to start over then because like all the LLMs are trained on copyrighted material. Like it's actually
Yeah,
disgusting. Like,
which would be
a lot of
great.
these,
Yeah,
a lot of these
them.
tech CEOs should be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't go that far, but I do not like them, and I'm fine if. But
Well, I mean, by people that want to sue them, not
Sure.
nothing violent.
He also means
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Minecraft.
sure.
I think legally.
Yeah, yeah.
In
But like
Roblox.
the thing with it, like with what you just said about the AI and with like this 230 stuff and things we talked and anonymity on the internet, is people will turn and go like, well, that means we're gonna have to change everything. It's like, yes, and I think the change would lead to a better system in the world that I would prefer to live in. Even if it's painful to get there, I would rather do that than just continue to live in this shitty version of what we're living in, right? So like, yeah, that's fine with me.
So I'm not sure if this is what Zip was referencing, but I remember seeing a post about this on Reddit, or maybe it was even on Twitter, where people were like, "There's fucking child porn all over Twitter." Were people using Grok to put bikinis on children, or what was the?
I heard about this. I'm not sure
Yeah.
what's going on with that.
So that would be my question. If people are using like an AI that is built in, or like this image generation tool that Twitter or X, I guess, is basically supplying, and they're using it to create illegal content under 230, I mean, what's the issue there? Or I shouldn't say what's the issue there, but like, what is the recourse there, and who would you actually go after? You wouldn't go after the
Yeah.
user, right? Because they're using the fucking tool on the platform that's provided by the platform. Like, wouldn't you go after X? Maybe and the user. I don't know.
That is a good question. I'm really not sure. I'm like, it's one of those things where like you'd actually probably go after the user because the illegal activity would be posting it publicly rather than creating it with the AI. As far as I could tell, I'm not sure how you would make creating it with an AI illegal. It would just be the actual sharing of it that would be illegal.
Well, in that case, the way that it's working right now is the Grok account posts it in a reply to somebody requesting it. So would it maybe be like a solicitation and then also posting by the, so it would be like a
Well-
dual suit maybe? I
Well,
don't know,
yeah.
no
Then if
idea.
Grok is, I think, yeah, if Grok is posting it, then the company that owns Grok would be liable then, and the people. God, because the problem is that you're getting into a question of like an entity posting child porn intentionally, which is like I've never heard of how you would handle something like that. But I mean that's you're looking at serious liability for that, and there's the like there's been some discussion. I don't know how much you guys want to get into this, but the CSAM discussion around it, like people are not really understanding the point of CSAM laws or like what the motivations are there is like a huge part of it is that like they're trying to like disincentivize or like fight against a market that creates a demand for people that would go out and harm children, create material, and then put it on this market, right? Like that's the deal. It's like if you destroy the CSAM market, then there's less demand for people to go out and harm children and create the videos because we want less children harmed. And so then people are like, oh well, like if you make this stuff with AI, it's not going to harm children because it's not using children. It's like, well, I think that like that maybe that that's true in like that short term there, but also it's like you might be actually creating a market or introducing new people to a market, things like that. So like it's not so cut and dry as just like, oh, no child was involved, so that means that it's not harmful. Like there's still like a lot of consideration there, and it's likely
And you can
that it
very
should
easily
be
get to
illegal.
like, like you're helping the market because then the market gets to go, hey, look, this one's real and not AI generated. And
Right,
then
and
that's
also
the
you're
draw
making
for
it
this other thing.
you're also making it way more normal to view that stuff, right? So like people talk a lot about like lolicon and stuff like that, and I think there's a lot of strong
What
arguments
is
for
lolicon?
Lolicon is like Japanese cartoons that involves sexual actions between children or an adult and a child.
What the hell? How do you know about
specifically-
this?
A
What the
child
fuck?
Specifically a
looking
female
thing.
child.
It's a 1,000-year-old spirit, but it looks like a
yeah.
child's body.
So like people talk about that, and that's like drawn CSAM essentially. Well, yeah, drawn CSAM, and so the issue there though is that like one, these are drawings, like they're very far removed. You've got this like very different subject matter here that looks very different than a real person. I think there's a lot of strong arguments for why it should still be illegal. But in a lot of cases, it's not illegal in the same way that CSAM is, or not illegal at all. Here, though, we're talking about AI in which we're creating like we're creating truly lifelike CSAM, And the issue is also we don't know if the face that we're seeing in that CSAM is fake and totally computer generated, or if it has literally been plucked from an image within the training data and put onto the body of this person. And now that child might have a fake but still lifelike image of themselves in the CSAM that could harm them, right? The CSAM isn't just harmful because the child was abused in the creation of it. It's harmful because that material can harm that person going forward. So you've got those considerations that you don't necessarily have when it comes to like purely animated and drawn CSAM that might be legal under certain contexts.
Wait, have you been to LollyCon?
The convention? I've not been to the convention, no.
Do they still have it at the Javits Center, or they move it now?
I actually
How does Gilmore know this?
What is it, disenrolled, or I unsubscribed from their mailing list, so I don't know where the recent ones have been.
Wait, so just to actually summarize,
Gilmore, did we meet at 2018 LollyCon?
Me?
Sorry. Yes.
Zip was a minor at that. Oh my god, fucked up.
Yeah, I will say this: LollyCon really went downhill since pandemic. I don't know, like, you know, I feel like before, great time. Pandemic happened, they took a break 1 or 2 years, and then now everybody that came back just got older, and it's just not as good.
Wait, so just to summarize your point, because you were kind of being wishy-washy on those couple of rants, Kafka, you support AI-generated CSAM, but only for established pedophiles?
No,
you say you want to expose it to like new markets. Okay, gotcha.
I understand. Well, there's the classic argument of like, well, if you give CSAM to pedophiles, like you can give it to them and then they will consume it and then they won't go out and harm children because they have the porn and things like that. I don't prescribe to that theory. Personally, I think we just shouldn't have it and shouldn't give it to pedophiles at all. I think it's just not worth having. It's a brave take.
Yeah, that is pretty brave. I mean, the way I see it, it's kind of like I describe it as like the yuck factor. And if things just seem gross to me, I think they should be banned. And that's one of those things.
Wait a minute, you might be on something there.
I mean, I think that's like, it's very funny because I remember, like, one of my goals last year whenever I first started like going on live streams and like, you know, on Destiny streams, stuff like that, is like, I was like, oh man, I definitely want to have the like incest and the bestiality debates and child porn debates with Destiny that I saw him do. And I actually got to. It was really fun. But it's really funny because it's just like the best argument for all those is just like, oh yeah, they're just like really gross and they should be banned. Like they're really gross and they're not good. I don't like them.
Always
and
has
it's
been.
like, well, yeah, and it's like, well, why? It's like, I just think they're gross. I don't need more. And they're like, what do you think? Feet stuff is gross? It's like, sure, but not as gross as this. Not gross enough to ban. This is gross enough to ban. And it's like, that's all I need. I don't need more than that. I don't need to give you a bigger reason than that.
Let me ask you this philosophical question then, Kafka. If you have sex with a family dog, is that both incest and bestiality?
I don't really believe that like sex between adopted individuals is incest, so I would just say bestiality.
Oh shit, he got you there, Gohndim.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, he was just asking. He's not like
I was just asking. What do you mean? It was just
he got
kind of hurt.
I was just asking. He says through tears.
But on speaking of gotchas, one other thing that we wanted to discuss was Kafka. You had a recent appearance on the Pisco Hour, I think is what he calls it. Where, first of all, just to clear the record,
Pisco's Hour. It's possessive.
Pisco's Hour, sure. Just one thing I want to point out is your conversation with Pisco was about IP law. Is that right?
Yeah, we got pretty in the weeds about it.
Yeah. So the funny thing to me, and maybe people won't find this humorous, is the thing that brought up the conversation was that he listened to our podcast, the Gohndim and Gilmore show, hosted by Gohndim and Gilmore. And
I heard of that show.
He was like, hey, can I listen to the podcast? And he asked you for permission, Kafka, who's not Gohndim or Gilmore, to the best of my knowledge, if you could listen. And which you said yes, that he could listen to it.
Yeah.
So I found that kind of ironic.
Really? I mean, we all know the only reason people would want to listen to that episode is because I was on it. So, I mean, it's got y'all's name on it, but let's stop pretending, guys.
Go on.
No. Yeah, this is a stopping pretending. Go on.
Yeah.
No, I was just like stop pretending, implying that, you know, I'm the real power behind the throne. Okay.
Okay. Gotcha.
You know.
But
no.
Oh my god.
No, I mean it was funny because I was just like, I mean, like if anybody has interacted with me at all or seen me do stream appearances, I'm like the biggest plug slut possible. Where like someone's like, "Hey, plug this for me." I'm like, "All right, I don't give a fuck, sure," and I'll just like plug things for people. Like I've plugged y'all's podcast on random shows whenever I had not even been a guest yet. And so I literally just was like, "Oh," what's funny is I actually had just mentioned that I was going to be on the show. I actually didn't tell him to watch it. I was just like, "Oh, hey, I'm going to be on this." Because I was like plugging it on his show. I was like, "Oh, I'm going to be on the show," blah blah blah. And then afterwards, I think is whenever I said, "Hey, it's out," and I'd put it in his Discord, and then people were like, "Oh, Pisco should watch this. Pisco should watch this." And then Pisco asked me, "Hey, can I watch this?" So I think it was, if you had had the bravery to actually put it in there instead of relying on me to do it, he probably would have asked you.
Totally fair. And to be clear, I'm not upset by it, so it's okay.
The issue is it's a big
He said
difference
through
between
tears.
self-promotion and then just being the guest and promoting it.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, all I'll say is that I did classify it as copyrighted material with the Library of Congress. Just saying.
Oh, fuck.
Interesting.
But
So you're
back
saying that
to-
you wanted him to infringe on
back to
copyright,
things.
is
I was
that it?
yeah, it was a sting operation.
It's
back to things
amazing
that
how
actually
many.
matter,
It's
so.
amazing how many podcasts I've been on that have now been, officially given to the Library of Congress. It's crazy how that keeps happening to me.
Oh my god, you're sleeping with other people?
Whoa.
This is fucked up.
But
Now
back
I'm
to
actually crying Kafka.
the streaming life has changed me.
Yeah, we can tell.
So back to the actual issue. So the one thing you guys kind of dived into, and I don't really want to get into the Ethan lawsuit because I don't really care that much about it in the first place, is the general kind of morality of lawsuits, when it is moral, when it's not moral, and kind of the differentiations and kind of the factors that go into it. So you guys had a long, struggle session, as Mullally calls it, about this topic where you discussed, I think, for over an hour or so, just about this kind of one lawsuit that kind of went all over the place. So do you want to briefly kind of give your general view on,
sure.
lawsuits?
One thing real quick on that, though, I just recently learned, and maybe I'm just an idiot and everybody else knew this. Struggle session, I believe, is like a specific term from like the Cultural Revolution in China, but they would force
it is.
people to do. I didn't realize it was that, so I didn't know I was
Wait, it
evoking
is?
that one. Yeah, I didn't know I was evoking that when I was using that term to describe my appearances on various places. It was just a frustrating conversation. I think that's a better way to put it rather than struggle session. But
I've looked this up. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Okay.
yeah, right.
Yeah, Knowledge China is a great
that.
place.
No, I genuinely was like recently I was just like on randomly learning about Chinese history, like communist Chinese history, and like they started like using the word struggle session. I was like, oh, and like I looked a little bit more into it. I was like, oh, okay, this means something a little more than what I thought it meant. But yeah, no, I think the question was kind of the overarching idea was, when is it okay and not okay for a person to bring a lawsuit against another person, assuming the lawsuit is like a non-frivolous one. And I think it's a very kind of, I think it's a very hard thing to peg, especially for me as an attorney, because like, I'm very mercenary in my approach to practicing law, and it's just kind of like, person shows up, they have a non-frivolous lawsuit, they want to bring it, like, I'm going to ask about the fact pattern. I will ask about motivations, but only the extent of like, what are your goals to get out of this? The idea that I would like pursue some kind of knowledge of like, what's their true, like deep-seated, like, I want to make sure that this person hurts because of this, that, or the other. I don't know how much I would ever really investigate into that. But the idea is that like, for me, if someone is using the law to enforce like a valid claim against somebody, they have a prima facie, like a benefit of the doubt that it's ethical. And then from there, if you want to, if it's going to be unethical, there's a pretty high burden for you to reach to show that it's unethical, right? And I think that I could have done a better job of communicating that in my previous conversation, but I didn't, and so be it. But I think that that's kind of where I'm coming from. And then from there, though, my burden is very high, because as long as you're doing something with that lawsuit that is just within a very, very broad category of things that you're allowed to do in the law, I'm gonna generally be okay with it, right? So like a person bringing an IP lawsuit against a person that's violated that IP lawsuit for other issues they have with that person involved with their business or them trying to use their IP to make money, even if it's like their main issue or their only issue has nothing to do with the IP, but it still has to do with their business in general, I'm honestly pretty okay with it. I don't like the law is here for people to protect their businesses. And just because people find the perfect way to get around the law to still fuck with your business doesn't mean that I'm going to be like, well, sorry, you can't use that as a motivation to rat fuck them a different way. I don't think that makes sense. I don't like the idea of there being these like hard lines in the law where it's like, well, as long as you don't cross that line, that means that people can't go after you for other reasons. I don't think that's right. I think that's a very I think it's a very like maybe I don't know about academic or ivory tower, or kind of just like maybe just idealist. There's like a very idealist view of the law that we should have it be this kind of perfect. You should be suing people for down these specific lines, and if you don't, then you're not ethical. So I have a very broad view of it.
I also see it as like, particularly when it's like, is it something that the person actually cares about? Like, if you sue somebody for your IP, you actually have to care that they're infringing on your IP or something. Like, for me, it gets to like, the law doesn't say you get such and such restitution only if you care though. Like, I don't see why that it should matter. Like, and I don't know. There's an analogy I've been thinking about for a bit. It's something along the lines of like, if my neighbor sometimes he asks me if he can borrow my lawnmower. Sometimes I'm not around though. He just grabs a lawnmower and gets it. And, like, I realize, but I don't really care. And then my other neighbor, who I fucking hate, he uses my fucking lawnmower without asking.
And
then
wife.
I sue him for theft. Like, that doesn't make me a fucking hypocrite because I sued the guy who I hate, but not my friend, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a hard thing to like look at with the law too, because I think the issue here is really like I whenever you like think about this kind of ethical motivation and stuff like that, a lot of the times it's just like if you didn't care, you wouldn't bring the lawsuit. Lawsuits are not easy to bring. They're not cheap to bring. They're not quick. You usually have a lot of off ramps before you get there. Like any good lawyer will try to find you a way to not sue somebody to resolve your problem. And so like for you to get to the point where you are actually suing someone for something, you have to care at some level because you're spending money, you're spending a lot of time. It's very stressful to bring lawsuits and stuff like that. And so like coming in and assuming that a person just like has zero interest in the actual underlying lawsuit, that's a really hard thing for me to just grant.
Didn't we see this in the recent Destiny case too? Like they sent them to meditation, so they had to like think about they actually wanted to bring the case. They had to like try to think about they actually wanted to go forward with it.
They went to mediation.
I mean, with that
meditation
officer or whatever, it might have been meditation as well.
Well, but yeah,
it's not meditation. Fucked up.
That would have been awesome if it was. But like yeah, no, that's like that's one court's not wanting to have to deal with shit, which is fair. But also, yeah, like the courts want you to resolve it, and so do lawyers. And there are ways to get this shit resolved without needing a lawsuit. And you go through a lot of attempts to do that. Most lawyers will do multiple attempts to try to get this stuff resolved. Like, there's no way that, like, I mean, like, based on the statute, he would have had to send them notices of the copyright infringement and an attempt to resolve it, right? Now, Ethan could have said, to use him as an example, Ethan could have, said, you need to pay me $1 million to resolve this. And they said no, and so he just sued him. And he's just an unreasonable person, and he won't actually take a reasonable settlement. But then he took one from Casey Tron, showing that, like, well, if they'd made a reasonable settlement at the beginning, he probably wouldn't have sued them, in my opinion.
So at least the way I see it is I agree generally that it is a lot of effort and stress to go through a lawsuit. Most people don't want to be involved in lawsuits, but there certainly are people who the point of the quote unquote punishment of the lawsuit is the process. And even if the person would pay them, hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever the damages are to resolve the lawsuit, they won't take it because they want the person to be deposed. They want them to be stressed out. They want them to have to pay a lawyer. That obviously happens. I don't think you would deny that.
Who cares? I think that's fine though. Like, what's the point of even saying
that? That's the issue that came up in the conversation.
And I think it's fair to point those things out, and like that is not good. But we're approaching like slap suit stuff, right? Like where we're saying like, okay, these people I agree that exists. It's so hard for me to see it. It's so hard for me. Like, not saying I don't believe it. I'm saying like the bar to show me that is so high, and like I have not seen anything from Ethan that would make me believe. Even him going on stream and saying, "This is why I'm doing blah blah blah." Like, I don't think that is a very.
Even forget the Ethan lawsuit. I'm saying specifically. Let's say there's like.
Well, no, I'm just saying that's what we're using as an example.
No, for sure. I'm just saying generally, like you could see this happening. In general, is let's say there's like two competing businesses who are next door to each other, and there are two pizza places that are operating against each other, and the biggest competition is just next door. And one of the owners, like, quote unquote, trespasses on the other's property after being trespassed, and they sue them for trespassing. The real reason for the lawsuit might just be, hey, I want this guy to pay $50,000 in legal fees to, litigate a civil trespass, let's say. The point isn't to get, the $20 damages you might get for a guy stepping into your store. It's to get the guy off your property and to make sure that he's harmed, his business is harmed via the lawsuit. It's fine.
For something he did, though, right?
Yeah, let's say he actually.
So who the fuck cares? I don't. That's why I don't understand what it is. Like, it seems like
I think
conversation.
I think Kafka does care about those things.
I think I'm with you in those scenarios. I think it's like I would say that person is doing something unethical. Like I think I could get there. This would be like I'm hedging a lot, obviously, but it's like I could get myself to say things like that are unethical. It's just it's one of those things where it's like. I'm not sure what distinction we're really making here, or even like what prescription then could come out of it, right? Because like, how do you ever cure that issue, like from a legal perspective? And it's also something like just hard for me as a lawyer to think about, because it's just not something that comes up or something that you really discuss.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, the only way I think you really can't fix it. I wouldn't even say, even if I thought someone brought in a moral lawsuit, if it's a valid lawsuit, it's not frivolous, and the actual underlying law is valid, I think you can bring it. I don't think you should be stopped for bringing that lawsuit. So I don't think that's not what I'm arguing at all. I'm saying that the way you would fix it is having a situation where, I think we talked about this before, is that making offers and getting your legal fees back on the back end. That's really the way to fix it, in my mind.
Well, and I think that was kind of an interesting thing about it, like, whenever we're saying ethical and unethical, it came up on our last podcast where it was like, hey, what's something unethical but legal, right? And I think this is definitely something where it's like your right to bring a lawsuit is too great for us to actually like restrict it, but then also it's kind of this thing where like I think that a person bringing these kind of frivolous lawsuits, I think there's cases where like Disney or some gigantic corporation, they're going to be whatever, we'll spend the money to do it, but they're also being harmed by doing it. They're spending too much money to go after a personal vendetta, and anybody doing these personal vendetta lawsuits are also harming themselves by doing it. They're creating stress, spending way more money than they should, doing all this stuff where they themselves are being harmed. They're never going to get that money back. They're never going to get that, but they know they're hurting their enemy. But it's kind of that, really cliche, like, oh, if you go get revenge, it's going to kill you too, or hurt yourself or whatever. It's very true in this case where it's like, oh, like when you get to the end of a revenge lawsuit and you're like, oh, I did it. And you're like, I spent $400,000 to make that person lose $30,000, but I can absorb the $400,000 blow more than they can. It's like, yeah, I guess, dude. Like, I guess
this is just like tantamount to saying that we shouldn't have invaded Afghanistan or Iraq after 9/11. It's like, oh my god, 1,000 people died. Like, this is un-American. Like, this is actually just so cuck shit. I don't understand it. ZipZip, are you on my side?
Yeah, always, of course.
There should be at least a special carve out for denims and all this, right? Where like denims actually has logs and like messages, like moderators of those communities being like, we have to steal views from Ethan, right? Like every rational, reasonable person should say that denim should at least be, drawn and quartered.
Well, see, that's the thing, is that like I think that for these people, when like looking at as more facts come out, it's like, oh, these people were legitimately attempting to harm this guy's business. They were trying to make it where he wasn't making as much money. They're trying to hurt him. They're trying to hurt his image. They're trying to make it where people wouldn't like him and wouldn't watch him more. And they're doing it in ways that was maybe like some of it was technically legal, but it seems like they started getting to areas where they're doing it where they're breaking the law. And at that point, it's like it's hard for me to believe that Ethan doesn't care about people stealing money from him. It's hard for me to believe that he doesn't care about people stealing views from him and things like that. Like,
Especially hard for me to believe that because he specifically registered his work with the Library of Congress. So if somebody did steal his work, he could. bring it
yeah,
back.
right, exactly. Like that action alone shows that he has some level of intent such that he cares. And
Well, no, it proves
you know,
that he has the intent of suing someone if they infringe. That's what that proves.
which is
That seems
caring.
weird to me. I
That's
didn't realize that like you
another
can
way
just
to
like,
say care,
so
right?
you can just register.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, just a technical point. So you can just register any piece of content that you produce with the Library of Congress, and that gives you extra power to like sue over the infringement of that content.
I don't know enough about it, but apparently
I
that's
think it adds
Proves
damages.
your copyright.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's an
is that
outside
what it
just
just
level
got
of
damages?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I did not understand that point, but yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Well, but Gilmore, on that, it's kind of a thing where it's like, okay, well, he does all that. How if someone goes through that whole process, how could like why would you then say he still doesn't care? Because it seems like that's what you're implying. He still doesn't care, even though he does all this stuff.
I think he doesn't. I think his goal, and I'm mind reading here, I'll admit, I think his goal is to get these people off his back and to stop using his content and talking about him. I think that's overall his goal, which is a
Okay.
fine goal to have. Just say that's your goal, right?
Sure, and I mean, like I agree with you that that's his goal, but to me, that goal includes him caring about people infringing on his IP. You know, like I don't know if he would formalize it and say it in such a way, but like I would bet that he does not want people to do what they did. It just so happens that that's the only like their IP infringement is the only part that he can bring a lawsuit under. Like,
Right.
let me say,
I agree.
do you think that we should have laws in such a way that people could
No, we should have
prevent
laws. Good point.
based? Do you think we should have laws that could prevent Denim's, Casey Trons, and those other smart people's behavior against Ethan? Like if they never did the IP thing, do you think that if we don't have laws that could prevent it, should there be laws in place that prevent people from doing what they did to Ethan?
In
Yeah,
terms of
I mean,
like gang harassment, is that what you're saying?
Essentially, you know, maybe there's
gang
specific things
stalking
within
laws?
there, or more a general thing where they're like, you know, coordinated in such a way that they're trying to harm his business and things like that. Or maybe there's more specific things like the fake CPS call, sending the skull to him or something like that. I don't know. Like saying like
I mean, I think those underlying acts should be illegal. I don't know enough. Again, I'll plead my ignorance here. I don't know enough
Well,
about the.
we can
actual
assume
reason
they're not
why,
illegal
yeah.
just for the sake of the conversation. Like assuming
If
they're
they're not
not
illegal, then I'm saying if it's not like something like that, if it's not like a direct action, I think it is very gray when it comes to, you know, quote unquote, directing your audience to do certain things. Like, for example, I think January 6th, he was pretty clearly directing them to take direct action, walking down and marching, you know,
Right.
going to, harass Congress, whatever you want to call it. I think that's direct enough. I would need to know more about the specifics about this situation to even comment on whether or not what they did was
Well,
direct
but
enough.
no, but I think that's a good one to do. Where you're saying like, but it's to me, it's this thing where it's like, I can look at this big pattern of behavior from these people, or just Donald Trump's pattern of behavior, right? And I can say, okay, I don't think that we should have a system that supports or allows this. Not in a we need to silence people, but in a this is very clearly a pattern of behavior that's producing a negative outcome for society that nobody should want. No one should want this. This is not a good thing in any scenario to have this kind of capability for people to do. So we should put things in place to prevent it. We don't have those, though. Those don't exist. And so like to me, it's unethical that we don't have those things, and so the fact that someone might be, I wouldn't say they're acting unethically, but that there might be an ethical question around the way that they're trying to enforce it, only exists because our system is allowing for a massive amount of unethical behavior to happen.
Gilmore, I just don't understand how your remedy for this issue is for Ethan, you know, to give up his mind-read position from you and be like, actually, this lawsuit's all about these things, and this is actually a frivolous, invalid lawsuit, and then it gets dismissed, and it doesn't actually stop the thing that he's trying to stop anyway. Like, I don't understand.
I think even if you said that the reason he's filing this lawsuit is because he hates these people, it would still be a valid lawsuit.
But you would
Thanks.
advise him if you're an attorney to say that.
It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't move the needle one way or the other.
I would, if I was his attorney, I would not advise him to talk about any of this publicly. Like that's always like the thing to me. It's like, well,
publicly.
Yeah, well, you're a better attorney than Gilmore, I think. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
We can discuss that in the lawyer.
well, but that's like
Let's
that's
get
kind
into
of
that.
the other.
Who makes
funny
more
thing
money,
about-
actually?
Well, but this new job
right now,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, you got 2 weeks, and then
Yeah, answer that question in 2
Fucking-
weeks. Gohndim.
yeah, you know how much a lawyer
Tell you 2
makes
weeks.
by how often he's willing to appear online. The less he appears, the more money he makes. That's kind of how it works.
So Pisco wasn't making a lot of money. One of the funniest memes is that as soon as Pisco made I shouldn't say, I almost said partner. Like when he got his big law job, fucking Hypertroller, this troll from his community, was posting like legal ego videos and be like, Pisco's making $360K a year. It was just really funny. Pisco got really upset about it.
Pisco,
Well, I
the
mean-
other week compared me to Hypertroller. How do you feel about that?
He compared you to Hypertroller when?
He did, yeah. Whenever in a long VC a few weeks ago.
Oh
Bro,
my
there's
God.
no way. That's
Wait,
that's probably the worst things he could have said to you. Hypertroller is like literally one of the most
You
retarded people.
understood
Why
that
would
at
he
the time,
insult
yeah.
Hypertroller like that?
What was the connection?
Oh. What was the Gilmore? What did you say?
What was the connection? What do you say that you two have a like?
We were just having a long autistic debate, and he just said, this whole conversation was reminding me of someone called Hypertroll, and he was really happy because he really enjoyed the conversation.
Oh my god.
That I was either
that's great.
trolling or it's just like a Hypertroller combo. I took pride in that though.
No, that's fair. And we've tried to get Hypertroll on the podcast. He has refused because he's a coward. Hopefully, one day in the future we'll have him
Oof.
on, but we'll see.
It'd be
You
really
can
funny if
have
he comes on like,
Hypertroll
right
light,
after this
and that's
episode
me.
comes out.
So
Yeah, next episode he'll be on.
Yep.
Okay, so I think we kind of got more into the weeds on this. So I'm glad, and I thank you, Kafka, for dealing with this further struggle session on this issue. Anything that you want to, either you,
Go
Kafka,
ahead.
or you, Zippy, want to impart on our audience before we wrap up?
I just want to say, thanks for having me on. Thanks for inviting me, and also, I don't know, follow me on stuff.
Yeah. Any shout outs? I mean, we can put your stuff into show notes, but
ZipZip 45, Kick, YouTube, Twitch. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
Kafka, where can people find you and what is your bar card number?
Yeah, I'm saving that for the lawyer roundtable. I think it's Real KafkaEsq on X. I think you're generally gonna or in DGG chat. That's where I spend most online time, or Food Shops Discord. I like to hang out there. Plugs. We got Pragmatic Papers is still going strong. We're coming up on our first year, and it's super enjoyable. eCourt. We have more episode that's going to be coming out next year. I've already made promise to the people that want to come on, and then if we can find if there is a conservative person listening to this that wants to debate about Venezuela or the Russia collusion, someone that desperately wants to debate it. After that, I'm not sure how much more eCourt there's going to be, but I'm going to try to still be doing that kind of thing.
Absolutely. BNN and the G&G community support the invasion of Venezuela. So, I think with that note, thank you guys again for being here, and hope to have you both back at some point in the future.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you guys so much. You guys have a good night. Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of the Gohndim and Gilmore Show. Check the links in the show description to see where you can find us. Join our Discord to interact with us and submit questions for the next show. As always, your support is much appreciated. Until next time, adios.
Bye-bye.